In this video, we're going to repeat the composite transaction that we did in the SSIS video. We're going to enter an order using Macola. We're going to release the pop order of a pop pull item. Then we're going to produce the pop order, confirm ship the pop order, and bill the order. And then we're going to update the order header with a SQL script. And then we're going to insert a record into the audit table as we did using SSIS. And we're going to do most of that transaction as a composite transaction using Agility Designer and Agility Explorer. So I'm going to start with the order process. And when I enter the order has some VBA script associated with it. And when the order loses focus, we're going to pick up the order number, and this is a typical trick in order entry and flexibility. You really can't update an order or do any work on the order until after we've gotten focus back on the order, or the type got focus. So we'll capture the order. We'll set up the parameters for our object calls and our connection. We're going to then open the connection. Then we're going to read the order header. We're going to read the order lines, and then we're going to do a post call to the pop object to actually then release the pop order or the associated manufacturing order number that we'll get from reading the order line. Doing most of this purely as object calls just to show that it's not a matter of just finding out what the manufacturing order number is through a select statement and then doing a post to release, but doing it all through an object interface. So let's do that part of the transaction. Let's enter an order. We use bike PP, which is a pop pull item. And then we'll finish up the order. And it says here that pop order 311 was released. Now we're going to Agility Designer, and we need to create a couple things. First off, we needed to create an insert into the auto pop log as we did with SSIS, but in this case we need to do it using an agility component called a SQL script. And this is simply an insert with some parameterization. And then we just define those parameters are actually brought over to the filter screen. And we have a script ready to do an insert. We have another SQL script that updates the extra field as we did before in SSIS to a priority value, just to do some work here. We have the auto pop log view, which is just a script which I can actually preview over here in the designer to just see what's in the auto log table, the table we've created to post transactions. And this is the process grid. This is actually the grid that's going to do the work. It's going to look for any pop orders out there that's already been released, which we've just done. The pop order was automatically released in the flexibility script as soon as we process the order. So I can actually look at data over here. This is order 809, the one we just entered. Remember, we just released 311. And then what you do is you set up a process button, which is a transaction, returning an error message. We'll define that. And these are standard transactional components that are shipped with the product to do a report production. To enter these, you would add a SQL script, add a transaction, Many of these transactions are already there, so I just grabbed a transaction that was already part of the system. Then we're going to do a confirm ship, again a standard transaction. We're going to bill a standard transaction and use the two SQL scripts we created to update the order header, priority, and to insert in the auto log file. Now once we bring these transactions in and we set these up together, all these transactions are going to be done in a single transaction control. So either all of them will complete together or the transaction will roll back. So we merely need to take the view that we created, and we're just mapping values in the view over to values, or we can set up defaults in here that we just want to set the system to go ahead and update the full OE order with full production information. This is just different method parameters that you set in an object call. Same kind of things we did in SSIS where we were actually using VSTA to call .NET directly. This is more of a user-based tool where if you know a little bit about how Macola works and the kind of information it needs to transact, then that's the kind of information that we ask for, and it's fairly straightforward. So all these are mapped over, including all the inserts that we're going to finish up into the transactional log file. And that's pretty much all the components. So if we come over here, I've already launched this view we just saw into the pop log file. We only have 808 here as the last order processed, where we just did an order 809. And I'm going to do a refresh on this grid, and now it shows that we have 809 to process. This is the process pop auto report. This was the transactional process grid I just showed you the definition of a minute ago. And we're going to right mouse and we're going to process, and that's going to go ahead and call all those transactions. Now this grid's already been refreshed, and we have OE order 809 and the manufacturing order 311. Like in the last video, we can drill into these, and we can see that this is the OE order, that it's got a linked pop order. We've already reported production, and we've issued components, and we have GL distributions associated with that completed transaction. So I can either call the objects in VSTA, .NET, lots of the tools we talked about in the very first video, or we can use some of these rapid application development tools that are part of the Agility series to create the same results. But ultimately, the real value of the objects or business transactions or developer SDK is that you can build out your transactions and execute on them any way that your organization can organize data and use these tools to make your processes a lot more efficient. Thank you.